Pregame.com.
Welcome back to pregame.tv. We're going to take a look at an NBA game. We've got the Cleveland Cavaliers traveling to play Toronto, and look out, but the Cleveland Cavaliers on a 6-game winning streak. I don't think I've said that since LeBron's been there.
I'm going out and buying my playoff tickets.
Hey, in the Eastern Conference, there's a
Anything
chance.
can happen. Anything can happen.
It's a pretty good chance,
because
too.
from 3 to 8 is wide open, in my opinion. Bryan, this is your former hometown team. You're going to back your team. They're playing good basketball right now.
Yeah, they're playing. Well, let's just say they're winning. I don't know if they're playing good basketball because they're not playing anybody else. They're playing some of the worst teams in the NBA along with them. What is really interesting to me is, in my regard, other than the point guard, obviously, the all-star MVP, Cleveland's pretty good at winning the all-star MVPs for their players, but they can't win any other games. But Anderson Varejao, to me, is the heart and soul of this team, and he's been out lately. So I wasn't expecting a lot out of Cleveland. But the good news is, with him sitting the bench, our hometown boy here in Las Vegas, Anthony Bennett's getting some playing time, and he's actually playing well. And not only is he, a couple times this week he's got double-doubles, he's not fouling people. And if you watch him play, he's got the tools offensively. And he's a big guy. He can get rebounds. But defensively, he was so far behind earlier this year. Literally, he's tackling guys. They're just burning him so bad, he's just grabbing a hold of them. And he would have 5 points, 2 rebounds, 5 fouls.
He didn't bother to play defense at all here at UNLV. That's the whole thing. He didn't grab anybody. He didn't care. He just wanted to get his offensive points. Yep. He was really a liability on defense. And that's the problem with a lot of these kids that are prolific scorers playing the AAU ball. We see it over and over again. Very few of them can play defense. And when they try to go one and done to these college programs, they get to the NBA, and they are a defensive liability.
One of the other problems with Anthony Bennett early on, and I know you and I are not ones to throw stones in this regard, but he came in out of shape. Let's face it, he wasn't.
There's several things. He has asthma. There's a lot of different things that came out.
Shoulder problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
They used to joke that there was never a pizza shop that he didn't like here when he was at UNLV.
So you got to know him personally.
Hey, I write a food column. What can I say?
That's an excuse every time.
The food column.
Yeah, you never write a food column on a health food store. You ever notice this?
They have those in Vegas. But so, it is playing much better, and he's only going to get better as the season goes on. And if he does get any defensive game to him, maybe he'll live up to the hype of the #1 draft pick, which I don't know about you guys, but I was shocked that he was #1. I think it was a case of, it was the lesser of what evils were there.
That was the thing, is they're really, go back and look this year. They played the sophomores against the freshmen or whatever. This year's class has been terrible. There's like 3 guys that are having a decent year, and that's basically because they got nobody else around them, so they're able to play. It's just not been a good year. I've got no problem with them taking him. I was actually happy they took him because I think his upside was much higher than a lot of the other guys.
He's got a lot of potential. There's no doubt. The kid can flat out play the offensive side of the ball. If he learns to play adequate defense, he's only going to improve on the offense. He needs to push his range out a little bit more to get used to that NBA 3, because we saw him, I did at least, I saw him launch some of these in practice at UNLV. He very rarely took anything that was more than a foot behind the college line, but he has that range. He just never really needs to use it. And now you're in the NBA. Hey, what else are you doing? That's what made Michael Jordan so great. As great as he was, he worked on things that he wasn't great at, where he was deficient, and that's why he became the greatest player ever.
Now, we got Toronto coming in. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. This is a team that has played better this year than I anticipated. What are your thoughts looking at Toronto?
Yeah, I like Toronto coming into the season. They've got a lot of good pieces that just hadn't played that well together. But, they got off to a slow start earlier this year, but now they're playing some pretty good ball.
They cover some games, too.
Yep.
They do. Well, you know what, Bryan? This is your free pick, so let's make it official.
All right. All right, talked about Cleveland, 6-game winning streak here. But take a look at the teams they've beaten. Those teams are combined 127 and 199, a 39% winning percentage. Not very good teams. The only team they played with a winning record was Memphis. And Memphis was playing the second of back-to-back on the road. They just gone to a real tight game with Atlanta, beat the Hawks by 3. Then they go into Cleveland. and Cleveland wins that game. But the other teams that Cleveland's played, they're all lousy teams. Washington, the one that started this 6-game winning streak, I think took it for granted. Washington right now is about a 500 ball club. They're playing better ball as of now. But Cleveland just has not played very good teams, really bad teams. Philadelphia and Orlando, teams that are actually even worse than the Cleveland Cavaliers. Go back and take a look at what Cleveland did before this streak. They'd lost their last 6 straight games, and people were talking, they go, could this be the worst team in the league? Because they were getting killed. So they go from losing 6 straight games, everybody hates them, winning 6 straight games over bad basketball teams. Now everybody loves them. I don't want any part of them here. Now they're playing a good basketball team. Toronto's 29-25 on the season, 22-12 the last 34 games. They're really starting to play better ball, and they are off of a home loss, second home loss to Chicago last time they played. So we're going to get a motivated team here in Toronto against a Cleveland team who I think is going to be a little bit overrated right now. We'll lay it with the home team, the Toronto Raptors.
All right, great stuff from Bryan. Just throw one thing out there. This winning streak coincided with probably the low point of the season, that Laker game when they got beat by the Lakers, when the Lakers were actually down to only 4 eligible players. Remember, they were shorthanded to start with and had a couple guys foul out and get injured. But that started this winning streak from the Cavs.
And we talked about this during the break. Spencer Hawes, they just traded for Spencer Hawes. Pretty good player, pretty good inside player. Now, anytime you bring in a new player into the system and put in minutes, they may struggle. So a little bit of that camaraderie that was working before, we're going to see that as we're taping this one in Oklahoma City tonight. We'll see how that goes. But usually I like to play against teams that bring in somebody like that the first couple of games.
Absolutely. All right, there you have it. All right, we're going to be back. We got one more free pick video. We're going to go to Saturday. Kind of pretty big basketball game on Saturday. Not quite as big as it would have been had somebody not lost in overtime last night. But we're going to take a look at Syracuse and Duke up next. Pregame.tv.